Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to the Correct Views. Sam I.B. Gangi during political commentary today for the Media Speaks, mediaspeaks.com. I want to remind everybody, do me a favor, hit share, hit like, hit subscribe. Those three things do a lot for me. You would not believe how much of a help you really are if you hit share, subscribe, and definitely comment it out, share it, let people know I'm on here. Friends, prisonplanet.com, Rand Paul with another bid. Prison Planet, Steve Watson, Rand Paul cut off arms to Saudis until they take in refugees. The reason that this is a very frustrating political climate for me to be in is because of Rand Paul. At first, there was the issue of those of us who have really dedicated a lot of time, money, effort, heart, and spirit into the ideals of Ron Paul, which are, of course, to most thinking people, American ideals. Well, the problem here is that we had to accept Rand. Rand had a few differences from his dad that many of us were not extremely happy with. But when he announced his candidacy and he stood up on the right side of the Fourth Amendment, etc., there are things that Rand did that made many people do what I'm doing right now. People like me will not vote for the lesser of two evils. However, we will vote for someone who doesn't share our ideals the way that we hope that they would, the way that Ron Paul normally did, but instead are better than Hillary, better than Bernie Sanders, for instance. So while they may not share our ideals, or Mr. Rand Paul, you're not evil. We're not voting for the lesser of two evils. Rand Paul is not evil. And people like me have been rooting for Rand for a very long time. The trouble is when Bernie Sanders, or when Bernie, I guess too, I don't support him, but Bernie to some degree and Donald Trump to a very large degree, when they were coming up with their solutions to the problems of the country, Rand Paul was out here talking about Planned Parenthood. Now, I know that there are evils that were committed by Planned Parenthood. But can we at least agree that Planned Parenthood is not going to get anybody elected nor keep anybody out of the White House? He was focusing on issues that were not affecting the average American. Do you realize that Rand Paul has the absolute best solution of anybody currently running? Libertarians have not announced yet. Of anybody currently running, Rand Paul has the best idea for taxes. He has the best idea for the way forward for the country. How's that? He's gained no traction because people with very good ideas that were not as great as Rand's have taken his issues from him because he was focusing on the wrong issue at the wrong time. Him and Cruz came into this with the massive lead. It was theirs to lose. And lose they did. Lose Cruz. Bland Rand. Okay, I'm telling you they blew it. I'm not really sure what happened with Cruz, but I can tell you with Rand, he just focused on the wrong issues at the wrong time. GOP presidential candidate who I am still going to vote for in the primaries unless he drops out. GOP presidential candidate Rand Paul made some bold statements in an interview Wednesday, noting that until other Middle Eastern countries address their role in the refugee crisis, the U.S. should not be selling arms to them. Do you notice how the libertarian common sense solution? Do you realize how the solution that I just said is getting my vote? Did you realize it always involves a solution that is both strong in common sense and limited in complexity? You don't have to force your enemies to do that which you don't want at gunpoint. There are other ways to get them to do it. And make no mistake about it, Saudi Arabia would definitely be an enemy of ours, no matter what the official standpoint is. When asked, if you doubt that, look up Saudi Arabia, the correct views. When asked what should be done to help innocent people fleeing terrorism in Syria and Iraq, Paul called out the neighboring states that have yet to take in a single refugee. One of the biggest supporters of Sunni terrorism in the world is Saudi Arabia. Qatar is also right up there. United Arab Emirates is up there, Paul noted. These are people that support an ISIS-based ideology. Sometimes government, sometimes private donors. What I would say is no more sales of any arms to these countries until they start accepting refugees, the senator urged. Do you see why I'm going to vote for him, even though he's run the worst campaign ever? Because he's right. And I have a big respect for those that are right. You don't have to be popular to be right. You simply have to be right. That means that if everybody else is wrong, that does not make you any less right. Do not be afraid to be right. The Gulf states have poured gasoline on this fire, and they have not taken a refugee. Iran has not taken in refugees, and they've been an arsonist in this situation as well, Paul told Fox News viewers. For those who live there, they need to step up, and we need to say that we're not going to sell arms to you anymore if you're not willing to do your fair share, the senator concluded. What's he mean by that? He means that we gave millions of dollars worth of weaponry to an army that already stood down when ISIS stood up once. That's what he's talking about. Paul has introduced legislation to restrict benefits to refugees coming into the U.S. The senator explained that refugees currently entering are immediately entered into the welfare system, whereas a disabled veteran and unemployed Americans are struggling to make ends meet. Do you understand that? We have veterans that have nowhere to go. Meanwhile, we're going to give welfare to people coming over from Syria. It says you don't have a right to be an American citizen. Most people don't realize this, but refugees come here and immediately are put on welfare, Paul said, adding that there are whole agencies set up to put them in government housing, government cash assistance, and they're basically put into the welfare programs. Rand Paul also commented on calls made by intelligence heads for expanded surveillance powers in the wake of both the refugee and influx. In other words, he called it bullshit, is what he did. He said there will always be those who advocate giving up your liberty in exchange for somehow getting more security. But what we've found is we've allowed warrantless searches. And he's right. He's right in every way. It caught no terrorists. Let's face it, France spies on more people than anyone, and the terrorists struck France. That proves Ron Paul right, and Rand. Adding more hay to the haystack does not make it easier to find the needle. What you need is to pool your intelligence so that you can more easily find the needle with less hay. It's not that it's not that hard. I mean, I'm not going to say that catching terrorists isn't that hard, but I will say that it's very obvious that the way they're doing it, and Paris failed. I think we can get an agreement there. Kurt Nemo info: socialism. Young Bernie Sanders supporters are clueless, and they're unable to understand the difference between laissez-faire, which is libertarianism, and crony capitalism. And I'm talking to a gentleman on Prison Planet. Him and I have not agreed about anything at all in any way, shape, matter, or form. He's also found me on my page. Let me see if I can go to it. He's also found me on my page here. And originally I was going to say, that's not him. I'm going to say something crappy. But then we both understood that we were getting a bit carried away here in terms of letting personal attacks override what we were saying. So, as a peaceful olive branch of friendship and complete disagreement, Perry Ramstad, RAMSTAD, has been invited for a debate on the show. We will refrain from name calling, and he's as hot headed as I am, so it should be interesting. That'll be the hard part. He's a Sanders supporter, but he is also a very he thinks he at least has a reason. The thing is, the people that he trusts for his sources are not the people that I trust for my sources. So I think a lot of times that is where there is a debate. And so he's invited on the show. If he wants to be on, he can be on. That'll make Charles very happy. So I'm incorporating more people into the show since I can't quit rocking. A video produced by Media Resource Center demonstrates how little college-age Bernie Sanders supporters understand about socialism. Students interviewed at the University of Colorado seemed genuinely confused about basic economics. For instance, they were unable to grasp the difference between laissez-faire and crony capitalism. The video also demonstrates the inroad made by social justice crowd, basically moral outrage directed on the wealthy in American campuses. In other words, if you were rich, then they hated you, even if you were somebody who was rich because you helped them, even if you weren't somebody that was crooked. I'm going to go ahead and play this video. Those of you on Fact Cam know exactly what I'm doing. You can see it here. Listen to some of this as I report.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan Joseph with MRC TV. Today I'm
We shall move ahead just a second here. Here, we'll go here. Listen to this. Well, if it would play, that would be a huge help.
Well, so for one, college tuition is ridiculous. There's no reason for it to be like $30,000 a year.
It means that there's more support for social programs, so we actually put money and invest in things like Social Security, paid medical leave for the middle class, things like that.
All right, let's pause there, just with the first two that I happened to click on. The reason that college is so expensive is because colleges know that they're going to get the money from the government via loans and other ways they have of roping people into taking their crazy rates, including lying about rates. I'll get to that in a minute. They're going to raise their rates because they understand that a vast majority of people qualify for them. Who did that happen to? It happened to me, for one. I fell for this amazing scam. Well, I didn't really fall for it. I kind of knew, in my own defense, I kind of knew that it was, I'm chasing my own tail here, but it made mom and dad happy when they were alive. So I went to school and I'll probably never get it paid off. There's a reason that most people qualify for loans. What you do is you get yourself in so deeply that unless you are like a brain surgeon, you're never going to make the money to pay this back. And this is a trick that the banksters use all the time. So the government drives up the cost of education because they are involved in it. Then they condemn the system that caused it to go up as being greedy. But the point is, both are right. Government out of the education system is the answer. Now, you're going to ask, if that is the case, then how are you going to make sure the poor can afford to go to college? You do that by making it an issue that is handled by the states, not by the federal government. Federal government has a history of destroying things or making them worse than they were before they got there. And you don't know what I mean? I mean, Obamacare, for instance. It said many of the students seemed incapable of understanding how productive wealth, ultimately creates prosperity for society as a whole. They insist on policies of economic equality. In other words, what that means is the transference of wealth by force, usually through taxation, from producers to non-producers, people that make something, to giving the money to those that do not. Few, if any, of the students seemed concerned about property rights and the reality that government confiscation of legitimate, non-criminally acquired wealth is grand larceny. The students also characterized Obamacare as a socialist policy when it is obviously nothing of the sort. I would argue that it is in part. It says that millions of Americans remain unaware of the fact that Obamacare is a corporatist scheme. That is also true. My issue there is the corporatism. Read the article. There's more issues there where you could tell that the many of the age Sanders supporters are clueless. I do want to say that socialism, corporatism, and fascism all tie together in terms of forced payment and the elimination of the middle class. The middle class is destroyed in socialism through taxation and in fascism through government taxation and government force, which is often militaristic and tied into corporations, which is where you tie all three together. Is this aspect of the corporate entity overriding the smaller guy, and that is, of course, happening. We all know. This is also Alan Salazar Infowars. A restaurant offers discount to concealed carry patrons following a robbery. I love this. It's my business, and I can give discounts to whoever I please. And the owner says, and he's right. He says it to critics who would have to be an idiot. A restaurant owner in Indiana is offering a discount to customers who bring concealed firearms into the establishment after a robbery that occurred Saturday. God bless this guy. Papa Roo, R-O-U-X, owner Art Bulver, announced on Facebook on Saturday night that an armed robber had walked in and threatened his employees, stolen money. I have a gun, and I'm going to need all the money out of your registers, the robber said, according to Bouvier, Bouvier. After the thief had made off with the money, Bouvier took to Facebook to announce that until further notice, your concealed carry license earns you 25% off your meal when you dine in. These folks are our extended family, and I do not take kindly to them being harassed in this manner, he said of his employees. The restaurant owner of 8 years said that he is proud that his staff handled the robbery in a calm and safe manner. In other words, he's giving a discount to people that stand up for his business, his family, and the God-given, and I meant it, I said it, I meant it, God-given right to stand up for what they know is right. To stand up for the fact that if you allow robbers to come into your business and do nothing to stand up against them, then they're going to come back. They're going to shake you down, and like the bully, they're going to come back for more. Friends, you're listening to The Correct View. Stand by B. Gangi during political commentary for the Media Speaks. 3 more stories to get to. I do want to say real quick, if you've never looked up the work of Mike McLaughlin, MacLauglin, then make sure that you do, because you're going to find out right away that when you do, Mike McLaughlin writes some of the best fiction political commentary, and poetry extant today. And if you want to know more about it, make sure you go to the facebook.com. Look up Mike McLaughlin, MacLauglin. You'll be glad that you did. You'll find someone great. Friends, this is brought to you by StickerJunkie.com. If you've never been to Sticker Junkie, go there. Type in the correct views as your promo code, and you'll find out that you're saving money. Kit Daniels, don't adopt our gun control laws. This is from an Australian politician. This is what he tells the United States. How many of you, and I do, God bless you, Giselle, how many of you have a friend that insists that Australia has made the right decision in their gun laws? How many? Come on. I guarantee I can't be the only one. The next time someone suggests that Australia has the right idea for gun restrictions, make sure you let them hear about this show and this report. Kit Daniels, Australia is a nation of victims, quote, because of its strict gun control laws, according to Australian Senator David Leonhjelm, Leonhjelm. The Liberal Democrat, hardly a fascist, told the NRA that Australia should not be a model for gun control. There's a link right there on FactCam. Because the country's 1996 gun bans pushed through after the Port Arthur massacre has made no difference. We are a nation of victims, he said. You cannot own a gun for self-defense, but criminals still have guns, which is exactly what all of us on the right side of history know. There's a very vigorous black market for guns, so it's not made the slightest bit of difference. If you want a gun, you can get it. He has a point, because an ISIS suicide bomber who's willing to kill for Allah isn't going to let a no guns allowed sign stop him from doing so. Unfortunately, this reality hasn't derailed U.S. politicians from demanding more gun control amid the recent Paris attacks, even though the multiple Western nations have been arming and funding ISIS for the past several years. In other words, our country, your tax dollars, sending ISIS money to defeat Assad. The process has unleashed ISIS on the world, so now you and I, Mr. Joe Average, get to lose our guns. And President Obama, of course, has made it a note to say he's going to be going after guns. Let me tell you what, friends, that is the largest error that you could ever make. And I've talked about it here as to why. For more, look up the correct views guns. Type it into YouTube. I give sources for everything I say, and you will find that I am right, painfully right. Alan Salazar, again, University of Kansas Student Senate bans gender pronouns because they're microaggressions. If I tell you to go to hell, if I tell you to get on all fours, suck a fart out of my butt and rate the taste on Yelp, is that also a microaggression? I hope so, because I just said it. A governing body made up of students at the University of Kansas who should be discredited has voted to eliminate their use of gender-specific pronouns, stating that the terms pose microaggressions towards those who don't fit traditional gender roles. Let me help people with gender roles. I'll help you real quick. The correct views. It's a free service. If you were born with a penis, you are male. You're born without a penis, you're female. Now, if you were born as a male, but you don't feel like a male, then you are a confused male, and you are just as male. If you're born without a penis, and you feel male, you are in fact a female. You are simply a confused female, and it is not our job as a society to change the way we talk to cater to you. That is a correct use. Learn it. Last Wednesday, the KU Student Senate, in a 2-3 majority vote, passed a bill altering the Senate's official rules and regulations, which would require senators to use inclusive terminology such as they, them, or their instead of his, her, he, or she. Well, if you say those people, I've always been told that that meant whoever those were meant that you were being offensive. Now you're supposed to use those as to not be offensive. I'm sorry, I didn't care then and I don't care now. If you're listening to me and you're offended, good, I'm not sorry. This is the key, a first step in making our campus more inclusive. No, why don't you make your campus more inclusive by teaching basic biology? And if you were born with a dick, you're a guy. If you weren't, you're a girl. It's that simple. If that offends you, I don't care. The idiocy of white privilege survey, Prison Planet. And this gets the dumdy of the day. That's right, friends. It does. It dumdy wins the ultimate, the dumdy of the day. A St. Paul public schools district paid by the property owners in St. Paul has issued a white privilege survey. It was contrived by the Pacific Educational Group, an activist organization dedicated to transforming beliefs, behaviors, and results, so people of all races can achieve their highest levels and live their most empowered and powerful lives. That implies that there is somehow a mystical racism and that is preventing anybody of any race from doing it now. The problem isn't the races, though. The problem is, in fact, that our country has sold itself out to outsourcing and NAFTA. There's our dumdy music. Listen to this. The survey poses a number of questions designed to address white privilege. Let me tell you what. I'm arguably white, I guess. I would argue that I have enough Latino in me that it would be kind of odd to call me white. Fine, fair enough, call me white. I've never seen any privilege. I've never seen any great mystical opportunity that didn't go to somebody that was of a different color. It's fake, friends. It doesn't exist. Listen to these stupid ass questions. If I should need to move, can I be pretty sure of a hassle-free renting or purchasing in an area in which I want to live? Listen to what this author wisely says. Life is not hassle-free on many levels, but for the white privilege crowd only, a hassle based on race is important. For instance, a landlord, a person, I am a landlord, I can relate to this, a person who owns private property and rents it to individuals may object to a potential renter for any number of reasons based on his or her subjective attitudes and experience. He may not like people with long hair or tattoos. I'd be screwed there. I guess they must be white privileged. Or they may object to the car that he or she drives or where he or she works. The landlord may decide that the potential renter is a financial risk based on a credit report, and thanks to student loans, that would also screw me, and therefore decide not to rent to that individual. As the owner of a private property, rejecting an applicant for any reason, including race, is his or her prerogative. And the same principle applies to purchasing, and it goes on to say why. His friends, let's look at before I even give you my commentary. Let me go on. If I go into most supermarkets and find that the staple foods which fit my racial or ethnic traditions, then I can go into the hairdresser shop and find someone to cut my hair. As for profit businesses, a supermarket stocks and sells items that it has decided will appeal and will sell to the majority of the people. Pause. Don't care about color. They don't choose what they sell based on color. They don't care what color they are. They want to make money off of you. There is a Latino store, Latino-owned store that I support very strongly called the Fulton Market. They sell a lot of Latino items, cakes and meats and jellies and jams. And you know what? I don't expect them to sell more white goods because I'm there. I expect them to sell whatever goods they want to sell. And if my white ass doesn't like it, then I can get the hell out of their store. I also think it's the same way the other way around. That which sells is that which is stocked. Also, in terms of finding someone to cut your hair, people specialize in many different things. Go to the hairdresser that you like and return there multiple times. Don't expect everyone to know how to cut your hair because not everybody is good at the same art form. Saying hair cutting is an art form is like saying drawing is an art form. Doing pen, ink, watercolor, a lot of watercolor artists do not draw very well. A lot of people that cut white hair very well do not cut African American hair very well. The best thing to do is find the person who cuts your hair regardless of what color they are and continue to go to them. Learn it. Welcome to America. I hope it offends you. No matter who you are, no matter what color you are, I'm still right. I can arrange to protect my children or children of my family most of the time from people who might mistreat them because of their race. The author says, what about children who are mistreated because they are white or obese or have a foreign accent, a deformity, or any number of reasons? I went to a rather large school, McKinley. I know a lot of MRDV kids who got picked on. I don't remember it being based on color. It said, why is this only an issue for black children? Bullying and violence are nearly epidemic in this culture. But for the white privileged folks, this is only important when black children are abused. Mistreatment is only a valid concern when physical violence is used against an individual. Calling a person a derogatory name, no matter how emotionally harmful, should not be used to criminalize speech. Another stupid ass question. I can swear dress in secondhand clothes or not answer letters. Nobody answers letters. What the hell? Without having people attribute these choices to bad morals, poverty, or illiteracy concerning their race. The author says these are choices made by individuals, and as free individuals, they have the right to engage in any behavior they wish so long as they do not use violence against others. It is impossible to change the subjective opinion of a person, especially if that person has no desire to change. Any attempt to do so by force or penalty would be immoral and criminal. In other words, everything is not a racial dagger. If somebody has a racial dagger, you are allowed to be racist. You can be, I think you're an idiot, but you're allowed to be, first of all. Second of all, there are people, and I've said this before, that dislike certain things. For instance, with me, it's music. I usually do not go to top 40 or black bars. Why? Because I hate black people, right? No. I hate Melissa vocal run. Hate it. It's all over hip hop and pop today. You can be white Christina Aguilera, you can be black Beyonce. Either way, it still sucks. It's not talent, it's not art, it's terrible. I don't go to those bars because that music is there. I hate the word nigga. I hate the word G, money, yo, game, hood, gangsta. So I don't go places where I'm likely to hear that. No matter who the person is, no matter what race they are. I hate that. That's not talent, that's crap. I also hate redneck music. I hate Shania Twain. I hate Carrie Underwood. I hate all that shit. So I don't go places where I'm likely to run into it. So I guess that means that I also hate white people. Or maybe I just like art and hate stupidity. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views. Sam I beat the Gangi signing off. If you want to donate to the show, you can do so at correctviews@hotmail.com. Every penny that you give to me goes towards a better show. Also, make sure you go to themediaspeaks.com, look up the work of Kyle, Court, D-Lake, and myself. We are posting all the time, and the more you support us, the more. Thank you, friends. Good night.